That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
Good morning, Sac City. Welcome into another edition of the Sac City Podcast. I am your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by my best friend in the whole entire world. He is Mr. Solo himself, Aaron, the Mukesiah Mukes. It is a beautiful November 16th morning here in the city. Episode 118 is about to kick off. We have a great power ranking show ahead of us, finding out where your team falls, if they fell behind, they moved up, all that with our power rankings. Aaron, there is quite a lot of movement with your power rankings, some of which I had to even text you to confirm that that was what you wanted to do, and you said yes. So we are definitely going to have to get into that because I got to wrap my head around some of these moves. But we've got that coming up in a few moments. We have a Thursday Night Football preview between the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers to cap off our show. We've got a lot to talk about. I haven't seen you in a day, man. I missed it. Missed being on the show. I appreciate you holding it down. Did you have a good fantasy show yesterday? Did you do good?
Arguably the worst fantasy football, arguably the worst Sac City episode of all time. Okay, it really was. And I apologize. I apologize in advance. Well, not in advance. I apologize after the fact to all the viewers. I was not in my right state of mind. I don't even remember what I said. I just wanted to make sure that there was some content out there. I know I gave great fantasy advice because I always do. However, the show was not produced at the level that it's normally produced at because I didn't have my producer. I didn't have Vincent Milani. And most of the time, even when Vinny's not going to be on the show, we talk about it, and he gives me some graphics, or we'll have some B-roll, or we'll have a list I can fill. And he did. He offered me all of these things that I should have filled out, and I could have had graphics, and I just didn't. I was too busy yesterday, but I wanted to make sure we were consistent. I wanted to make sure we were here, and we were. I gave you waiver wires to go pick up. Hopefully, you got some of them. Maybe you didn't. So I apologize for the lack of quality, but the content was still there, and we gave you the advice. And if you didn't listen, well, then that's your problem. You're probably not winning your fantasy leagues.
Hey, you held it down for the city, and I appreciate it. I had a day off yesterday, so that was the thing. And now today I am back, and I am ready to help bring that extra value to the show and make it the best damn show we possibly can do. Because we got power rankings to get into, we've got headlines to get into, we've got injuries to do. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
That's right. It is time for some morning headlines. And Aaron, I'm not sure how far you got into morning headlines yesterday or late night headlines, if you did them or not. I did not see that part of the show. But I will say and start things off by talking about maybe some players that were featured on your waiver wire column yesterday. Maybe you didn't. But Benjamin was released by the Arizona Cardinals and then signed yesterday with the Houston Texans. He gets added to the Texans backfield that already features Dameon Pierce and the nuisance that is Rex Burkhead. So Benjamin joins that backfield along with another running back that was a Houston Texan, no longer a Texan, David Johnson, going from the Texans to the New Orleans Saints this morning, was just picked up early, just a few moments ago, actually, before we went live. We got that news. Aaron, these two running backs finding new homes. What's their role? What do you think the role is going to be? And really, before the show, you were kind of expressing some concern about David Johnson going to the Saints.
Yeah, I think this is just a question mark we have to look at. Are we sure that the Saints don't know something about Alvin Kamara that we don't? An injury? I don't think it's a suspension because I think we would have heard more news by now. And we've talked about not thinking that he's not going to get suspended, but there could be a problem with Alvin Kamara. He only got 8 carries last game. This could be a depth move. Mark Ingram's been out. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just a depth move. He's only added to the practice squad, so he'll still have to get activated at some point in time if he wants to get, touch the ball or anything like that. But it's just kind of annoying because we know how much we've been clamoring for them to continue to give the ball to Alvin Kamara. And as we've talked about all year, when they've done that, they've been successful. When they don't, they're not. So it's just something maybe to keep your eye on. But I don't think either one of these players, I don't think Benjamin in Houston or David Johnson with the Saints is really much of an impact to what they've been doing. Dameon Pierce is the guy in Houston. We know that. That's not changing because Eno Benjamin's there. And I'm sorry, Rex Burkhead is the backup. Rex Burkhead is the pass-catching back. He's the guy that's going to be in the game for whatever reason. The inefficiency of Rex Burkhead, they love him. Maybe it's a veteran thing, but I don't think Eno Benjamin takes his spot neither. I think this is just more of a depth move. So I wouldn't be – I would be shocked if either one of these guys have some sort of, whether it's fantasy or real football impact going forward, unless there's barring some sort of injury.
Okay. All right. That gives me a little bit more confidence as a Dameon Pierce owner, seeing the Eno Benjamin slide in. I was a little interested to see what you were going to say on that side, because we know how involved Rex Burkhead has been. And I shouldn't say how involved he's been, because he doesn't touch the ball as much, but we do, as on the fantasy side, tend to get annoyed by Rex Burkhead stealing certain touches from a Dameon Pierce, worried that Benjamin may come in and do the same and make it a little bit more muddy. But you say it's okay. Have faith in your Dameon Pierce. That's good news to hear. One other bit of news that I did want to bring up here in our morning headlines is that based on the terms of his suspension, Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns will be returning to practice today. I believe Kevin Stefanski already brought up the fact that Jacoby Brissett is still the number one quarterback there. They will be still giving Jacoby Brissett the reps with the ones. But it's time to start looking at Deshaun Watson coming back. We're just 2 weeks away. He's already reporting to practice. We're just a short time away from his debut against his former team in the Houston Texans. So we'll be keeping an eye on the practice reports coming out of Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, seeing when he does get those reps with the ones and how much that impacts Jacoby Brissett moving forward. That does it for our morning headlines. Let's switch gears to the injury report.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Time for that injury report. We talked about some of these injuries last night, or a few hours ago, I should say. But I'm going to bring some of them back up because those were for fantasy implications, and I kind of went on a tangent with that. This is for real football purposes. Obviously, the most devastating one, we have to mention it again, it's Cooper Kupp. IR for the Rams with that ankle injury, going to miss at least 4 weeks. And as I said in fantasy, I don't know that Cooper Kupp comes back this year. I think this is a situation where it's going to depend on whether the Rams are still in playoff contention or not. I'm a believer that the Rams are probably going to be out of playoff contention at that time. I just don't think they have enough. They're 3-6 now. I don't see a path to getting back into that playoff race without Cooper Kupp. They have over the next 3 weeks, they have the Saints, Chiefs, Seahawks. It's tough games. It's on the road at New Orleans. That might be a game they can win, but then you got to go to Kansas City and you play the Seahawks. So Cooper Kupp being out is devastating for the Rams. I think he's going to miss probably the remainder of the season at this point. Tough loss there for the Rams, but they got to start looking to 2023. On that same note, Matt Stafford, who had a concussion this week, was not able to play. We still have to see if he is going to get out of concussion protocol and be able to play in week 11. If he's not able to play, then it looks like it's going to be Wolford again, unless they change and go to somebody
Bryce
else.
Perkins.
But
Bryce Perkins.
I mean, Bryce Perkins is the number 3. Maybe you see them add a quarterback. Keep your eye on that. If they pull anybody up from a practice squad of somebody else, or if they go sign somebody, that should be an indication on whether Matt Stafford's good to go. Keep an eye on those practice reports. But as of right now, he still has not cleared concussion protocol, so we'll have to wait for that. Kyler Murray with the hamstring injury. He missed practice before the game. Before last week's game. He missed the game. Colt McCoy came in, did pretty well, played pretty well, 26-37, 238. We're not sure whether he's going to be able to go next week. I think this is still early in the week. It's Wednesday. Today is a good indicator for some players, but also it's an extra rest day for a lot of players. So I think tomorrow and Friday will be the telling tale whether he can actually go or not. Khalil Herbert to IR for the Chicago Bears. He had been coming on running pretty well. I think this is another clear path for David Montgomery to get back kind of like earning his job. I'm not sure that anybody else there is going to be relevant. Ebner is not He hasn't touched the ball all year. I think this is David Montgomery's backfield. But losing Khalil Herbert is big for the Bears because they obviously are a run-first football team. Ezekiel Elliott missed the last 2 weeks and plus the bye. So it's now been 3 weeks since he's played. They play Minnesota this week. They're off a loss. I think this is when you see Ezekiel Elliott come back. If he doesn't, then maybe that knee injury is more significant than led on to believe. But I do think this is the week you're going to see Ezekiel Elliott back on the field. Keep an eye out for that. Juju Smith-Schuster had a concussion. We obviously saw the hit that Cisco put on him from Jacksonville. Again, has to clear concussion protocol. I don't foresee him playing this week. I think it's going to be a couple of weeks before we see Juju because of how devastating that hit was. It was very Tua-esque. So that's a big deal. Keenan Allen, is he? Who knows?
No idea.
Who knows? They say he's going to, he's on track to play, but they've said that now for 3 weeks and he hasn't. It's frustrating. I own him in some fantasy football leagues. I'm trying to trade for him in some fantasy football leagues because I'm just trusting he'll eventually get back out there. And when he does, it'll be nice for the Chargers. That'll give them a wide receiver 2 back in wide receiver 1. That they desperately need, especially on that offense. But we have to still question. We still have to keep our eyes out because we're not sure. Up until game time, we're not going to know. I talked about Jerry Jeudy a lot. Mike Williams, obviously still on IR. The other big ones are the tight ends. A ton of tight end injuries. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, both going to be out. Zach Ertz out for the year, and Dallas Goedert is going to miss significant time. It's going to be multiple weeks, they said. That's tough for Philly. They don't really have a backup tight end like they used to have with Zach Ertz. They're going to have to put that together. This is going to hurt them. I think people don't realize how big of a deal this is for them. He's been really, really good for them this year. That's going to be a big time loss. And we're still waiting on Mark Andrews to see if he's going to be able to get out there. They had a bye this week, but I think he's going to return this week against Carolina. I expect him back on the field, and that's big for Baltimore's offense. So Mark Andrews should be back. Obviously, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are not going to be back. And then David Njoku, who knows? He's back from his time, but they're not sure if he's going to be back on the field week 11 against the Bills. We will see.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he hit it all, and I was obviously attached to the ones that I have on my fantasy teams, including Keenan Allen and Mark Andrews, waiting, refreshing Twitter to see where those guys go. But good shit, good injury report. That's it for our morning headlines. That's it for our injury report. Take a sip of water, Aaron, because you're going to have to be right back out there because it is now time to get into your power rankings. I will carry the weight in running it down, but you definitely have a lot of explaining to do. A little bit here, not a whole lot here, but just a tad here. Texans at 32, Raiders at 31, Panthers at 30, Lions at 29, Saints at 28, Colts at 27, Steelers at 26, and the Bears at 25. Your biggest fallers in this group include the Las Vegas Raiders, now falling to 31, and the New Orleans Saints falling 28. Aaron, these are two big teams that had high expectations coming into the year. Lots of talent on these teams, but they now fall into the bottom quarter of our power rankings. Which team is the most disappointing? And if you want to dive into why they're where they are, you're more than welcome to. But there's lots of disappointment. I mean, to see the Raiders at 31, it's ridiculous. It's just, and it's not ridiculous by you. It's ridiculous that they are that bad.
Yeah, I just can't defend them. I can't defend them. I've defended them all season, and you guys know I'm very stubborn. I stay on my takes until it can't be defended anymore. There's no defending what the Raiders have been. They lose to a first time ever head coach in Jeff Saturday, and shout out to Jeff Saturday. Great job coaching. But that was a game where they're supposed to win. Josh McDaniels is a veteran. He's supposed to be the guy that knows how to outcoach, and he got outcoached. Again, they were ahead, then they blow the lead, then they can't come back. They couldn't stop the run. It was just another game where the Raiders fell short, and I can't defend them anymore. They're not a good football team. Offensively, they struggle. They have two players who can make plays in Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, and everybody else seems to be non-existent. Derek Carr has struggled because of that. The defense has not been as good. They haven't been able to stop the run, which has not allowed Crosby and Chandler Jones to do what they do best. They're not a good football team, and we can talk about how much talent we think they have and what they're able to do and what we think they could be, but the fact of the matter is they're not doing it. So they are one of the worst teams in football right now.
Let's shift the conversation then right now with this team, because at this point in the season, we're into week 11. We're starting to really we know who these teams are. And like you said before, you can't really make excuses for this team anymore. They continue to blow leads. They continue to lose games. No matter how much talent they have on their team, they're just not performing well. Let's shift the conversation now, more than midway through the season. What do the Raiders need to do moving forward? Maybe not just this season, but the talks now, there's rumors of, the rumors are starting to develop of Derek Carr, moving on from him again. Like every year I feel like we get to this point where it's like, do the Raiders move on from Derek Carr? They're already talking about having a high draft pick, going for a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young or one of those type of guys. Where do you see the Raiders going moving forward, not just this season, but maybe looking ahead into the offseason?
Well, they can't. They can't. The fact of the matter is they can't move on. They just signed Derek Carr. Like they got him signed through 2025. They have it out after next year. But do you want to waste that draft pick on that high draft pick on a quarterback that you may or may not really want to play next year? And then you have the controversy of, am I starting Derek Carr? Am I starting this rookie? Am I waiting a year for this draft pick? Am I wasting another year of Devontae Adams, who's going to be 30 years old? Josh Jacobs is in a contract year. Are you going to re-sign him? The offensive line is not great. Maybe they can get alignment. Like, there's so many questions to ask. Like, it's easy to point the finger at Derek Carr. It's easy to point the finger at Josh McDaniels. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's deeper than just saying there's something wrong with the quarterback or the head coach. We saw this quarterback last year with less talent go to the playoffs. Like, you can't take back what we saw. We've seen Derek Carr lead that team as one of the best teams in the AFC. Yeah, it was years ago, but he did that. So I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback. Good. I think he's good enough in this league. I think he's right up there with guys like Kirk Cousins. I think he's right up there with those type of quarterbacks. So then it's about scheme and fit and what are you surrounding him with? And yes, Darren Waller not being there is huge. Hunter Renfrow hasn't played as well, and he's missed some time this year. They don't really have anybody on the other side. Matt Collins has kind of been hit and miss. I think this is bigger than just saying, are we keeping Derek Carr or not? You get rid of Derek Carr right now, you're starting an entire rebuild over again. And I don't know that they went and signed Chandler Jones and went and got Devontae Adams to start a rebuild. So I think Derek Carr stays. I think it's about where they use that early high round draft pick to improve their team now, not later.
Yeah, I think a big thing too is one of the points that gets brought up when talking about Devontae Adams coming to the Raiders was because of his connection with Derek Carr. You get rid of Derek Carr, or you do bad things around Derek Carr, that you might be upsetting. You might be upsetting your now franchise player here in Devontae Adams, because he came to Las Vegas in large part because of Derek Carr. And now if you get rid of him or there's controversy around him, like, you're not only upsetting Derek Carr, you're upsetting Devontae Adams, and it could be very messy. But as of right now, the Raiders fall into your 31st spot there, falling 5 spots from 26 to 31. The Saints fall 4 spots this week to 28. I feel like it's pretty standard with the Saints, Aaron. Is there something you want to bring up with the Saints before we move on?
No, they suck. And they suck because they don't give the ball to Alvin Kamara. Like, simple as that. The second worst team in the NFC. Only the Bears technically have a worse record. They're just not good. They're not good.
Okay, that's fair. Some risers on that list were the Steelers and the Colts, moving up 3 spots and 4 spots respectively. Any notes on those teams and why they moved up? I mean, Jeff Saturday's debut, and he's already got him popping up the Sack City Power Rankings.
Yeah, I thought the Colts got Jonathan Taylor back, and I thought the biggest move for the Colts was the starting of Matt Ryan and getting away from Sam Ehlinger. Like I said, should happen. Like I said, probably would happen eventually. It just wasn't Frank Reich because his ass got canned. It was Jeff Saturday coming in saying, "Hey, look, man, we're not going to go down like that. We're going to put the best guy in for the job, and the best guy is Matt Ryan." And he showed that again. Matter of fact, Matt Ryan showed his athleticism in that game. He has one of the longest runs of the year, longer than Josh Allen, longer than some running backs. Matt Ryan was definitely the right move there, and I thought that's what gave them the win against the Raiders. I'm sure the Raiders didn't like it, but so they had to move up. The Steelers had a nice win over the Saints. I thought they played well. I liked what I saw from Kenny Pickett. I liked what I saw from Najee Harris in this one. This was the first time I actually said Najee Harris looked like a running back and not just some heavy guy running down the field, running into people. But it was true. I saw a little bit of explosion. It wasn't special, but I did see a little bit of explosion. He broke some tackles. He looked a lot better. And I said, that's the Najee Harris they at least need to get going. So that was a nice win there for the Steelers. So they moved up as well.
Okay. All right. Well, there's your 32 through 25. Let's move on to 24 through 17. The Rams fall 5 spots to 24. Broncos fall 6 spots to 23. Big time fallers here. Falcons to 22. Jaguars to 21. Cleveland falls 4 spots to 20. Commanders, after taking down the once undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, they move up 6 spots to number 19. The Cardinals move up 3 to 18. And the New England Patriots, Aaron, don't even play, and they move up to 17. They move up 8 spots. They don't even play this week, and they move up 8 spots. I got to talk about that. Is this more about maybe there doesn't even need to be a whole lot of conversation about the Patriots moving up 8 spots? Is this more about everyone ahead of them just falling and they didn't play? So it's like, okay, they move up those 8. I mean, that's a lot. 8 spots is a lot, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, but I think this points to the respect you have to give to Bill Belichick. I think the Patriots are a great football team. No, I don't. But when I look at the other teams that are surrounding the Patriots, the season ended today. Guess who's in the playoffs? The New England Patriots. Like, they're 5-4, and they didn't play last week. So yeah, it seems like they didn't win. How'd they jump up? And the Cardinals won. They should have jumped up higher. Washington won. They should have jumped up higher. No, all those other teams took L's. All those other teams didn't play well. You're right. But New England still, they look at the coach. This is the one team on this list. I know their identity. Like, I know what their identity is. The Atlanta might be the only other team that I can say I know their identity. I know what they're going to do. New England, I know what they're going to do. They're going to run the football. They're going to play good defense, and they're going to ask Mac Jones not to lose the game for him. And if they do that, they'll win football games. If they don't, then they're going to lose. I know that when New England goes and plays. Some of these other teams, they're so up and down. The Arizona Cardinals, 1 week it's good, Kyler. 1 week it's let's get James Conner involved. Is it a pass game? Is it a run game? Are we good? Are we bad? You don't know. You just don't know from these teams. They're inconsistent. There's always been one thing true about the New England Patriots. They are very consistent. They are who they are. You know who they are. You know what you're going to get. And they'll never be that team, honestly, that's going to go 3-14. They'll never be that team. They might go 8-8, 8-9, but they'll never be the team that's going to go 3-14 because of the way Bill Belichick coaches and the way he understands his football team. And so I have to give credit for that, especially in a league right now where there's many teams that are just in the middle of the pack that are very inconsistent and not very good. I would take New England over all of those. In a one game, if you told me one game, New England versus any of those teams that are below them, I'm probably taking New England. There might be maybe 1 or 2 exceptions because of quarterback play that can, go and win a game. But outside of that, I'm going to take New England.
Yeah, it comes down to trusting. It comes down to a trust level with some of these teams because, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of just ups and downs, and I feel like that's what we do every week with these rankings. It's like something like we talk about the Rams, like they're up one day, they're down, and then the Broncos, they're up one day and they're down, and the Patriots, they kind of give you exactly the consistency that you're looking for and putting them in a spot that's just outside of the playoffs, at least towards your rankings. They may be in a spot right now when you look at the standings. But you have them at 17. That's just outside, but it's fitting. It's very fitting.
I do want to point out one thing also. I refused to move New England for weeks. Like, remember, like they could have moved up and creeped their way up to 17 and it would have been the
Yeah.
same thing. You probably wouldn't have like, oh my God, they moved up 8. But I refused to move them because I really didn't believe. But at this point, I got to just say, look, I understand what they are. I know what they are now. So that's why it looks like a huge jump, but they could have been creeping up because they haven't been playing poorly outside of that Bears game. They've had some wins. They've had some losses. They've had more wins than losses. They could have crept up, but instead they shot up because, again, the other teams have just been bad. Like they've just been bad.
It's been bad football. No, you're right. It has. And let's talk about some of those bad teams and which one really stands out to you more. We saw the Rams. Actually, let's really dive into this because you have the Cardinals moving up 3 spots to 18. They obviously got the win with Colt McCoy as their starting quarterback. The Rams were on the opposite end of that. They lose Cooper Kupp. They had John Wolford as their starting quarterback. They fall 5 spots in the loss to the Cardinals. The Broncos, on the other hand, fall 6 spots in their loss this past week. They lost. Who did the Broncos play this past week? Can't remember who they played. Tennessee, that's it. They lost that 17-10 game to Tennessee. They fall 6 spots, one of your biggest fallers in these power rankings. Is it as obvious as that? The Broncos are the biggest, are your most notable faller from that group between them and the Rams?
Notable. Yeah, I think the Rams is – I think we just have to give up on the Rams. The Broncos is still perplexing to me. Like, you have talent there. The defense is elite. Russell Wilson's still there. Offensive line's not bad. Maybe their running game could be questioned. I know it's a huge loss not having Javonte Williams. I believe that. I believe that the Denver Broncos would be a lot better with him. Not saying they would have a ton more wins, but I think they would be significantly better with him. They have wide receiver injuries. But the Rams are decimated, and then they don't have Cooper Kupp. And I'm sorry, but without the Cooper Kupp, the Los Angeles Cups are not good enough to win. So they just don't have the talent anymore. And I think Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey just isn't enough. So I think it's more notable that the Broncos are playing poorly because I think they are more intact than the Rams. But that's why both of them fell significantly, is just because I think that's just too big of a hole for them to get out of. And it's unfortunate, but the Rams seem like now it was a 1-year run as Super Bowl champs. And you look back and you're like, they're fortunate that the Bengals lost that game, because if the Bengals win that game, the Rams would have been in real trouble, right? They wouldn't have a Super Bowl ring and they would be falling apart. They still would be in the same situation they're in now. Good thing they got their ring and they can celebrate that for a few more years before we say it doesn't matter anymore. We don't care. We need you to move on and get better. But as of right now, they kind of get a pass. Like, everybody's going to kind of give the Rams a pass this year, as they should. They won the Super Bowl, but you can't keep them up in your power rankings anymore. They're just not a good football team.
Yeah, they get the pass. It's like, okay, like as a franchise, you're fine because you did get your ring. You sold your soul for the ring, basically, and that's what happened. But as a franchise or as a team this season, in this year, you're falling because you're playing bad football. Falcons 22, Jaguars fall 3 spots, Browns fall 4 spots, Commanders. I mean, this is. I know you talked a little bit about this game, the Monday Night Football game yesterday between the Commanders and the Eagles. But the Commanders get the job done. Ron Rivera comes out and says the quarterback decision is still up in the air. I think this is easy. I mean, like, how do you not go to Taylor Heineke after this? Like,
the reports are that it's likely to be Taylor Heineke, and he just doesn't want to jump to that. He's probably just playing it coach, doesn't want to just come out. Yep, but Taylor Heineke make Carson Wentz go cry in a corner somewhere like he always does. But we all know it's Taylor Heineke. It would be an absolute shame if Ron Rivera messes this up. Honestly, it's a fireable offense if he puts Carson Wentz back in there right now. Like I'm saying, if Taylor Heineke goes out and loses 4 games in a row and sucks, you can go back to Carson, whatever. But right now, if you go back to Carson right now, they're going to burn you down in Washington. Taylor Heineke has won 4 of his last 5. They're 4-1 in their last 5 games, and they have beaten the Packers. They have beaten the Vikings, or they should have beaten the Vikings, and they've beaten the Eagles. It's not like they're winning against crap teams. They beat the Bears on that crappy game. They went to Indy and won. 3 of those have been on the road. Washington has played really well. This is why they moved up in my power rankings. This is a team that I said when they get good quarterback play, they have a chance to make the playoffs. And I truly believe that, because I do think That defensive line is elite. I think they have versatile weapons on the offense with Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel and Gibson and Brian Robinson. They're mixing in those two, and Brian Robinson had a good night. Kind of this like plotter and this like guy that's a little bit more versatile, Antonio Gibson. They blend them well together. They have a chance. Listen, they have a chance to make the playoffs still. They have the Texans, the Falcons, and then they go back-to-back division games after a bye week where they play the Giants and the Giants again. If they can go 3-1 in that time, which I believe is possible, I think they can beat the Giants once, and I think they can beat the Falcons and the Texans. We're talking about this Washington team completely different than we were after they started 0-4, 0-5, or whatever they were. So, or 1-4. So I don't know, man. I'm starting to get to the point now where I think Washington, as crazy as this sounds, we talked about the AFC West having 4 playoff teams. There's an absolute chance that the NFC East has 4 playoff teams.
Yeah.
Like, you think about the South is only getting 1. The North, depending what happens with Green Bay, unless they turn around, is only getting 1. You have 2 coming out of the West, Seattle and the Niners, more than likely. That's 4. I mean, you get 3 at least in the East.
I think
the Niners is right there with Washington. They're only a game up on Washington. Seattle could fall down. I think they're like, that's the division we should be watching if all 4 teams have a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree that it definitely eyes need to be on the NFC East to see if they can all get all 4 into the playoffs after being referred to as the NFC least last season. You look at their schedule after the bye, though. It's not great, but they are fortunate enough to have their biggest games come at home when they're matched up against the Giants out of the bye and the Cowboys to finish off the season. I think that's going to be huge because, I mean, you're looking at
they're 500 right now, right? They're 5-5.
They are 5-5. Yep.
So at 5-5 right now, the real question you got to ask yourself is, can they win 4 games?
Yeah.
Houston, Atlanta, I think they can win.
Atlanta. Yeah.
I think they could beat the Giants once. It's really, can they get a win somewhere in that last 3 games at Niners, Cleveland, or Dallas? And if they could do that, they'll be 9-8. They'll be 9-8 with an opportunity. Again, they'll be fighting Seattle, right? Seattle, it's the Niners. Those are the only other 2 teams that they'd really be fighting with for playoff spots.
Yeah. I meant to get a playoff, some standings, a standings graphic going on lately, but I have not been able to do it because now we're starting to get into that time where we're keeping an eye on who's in the hunt, who's not in the hunt, and who's everybody outside of it. That's kind of where we're at
right now. Washington is 8. They're 8 at 5-5, and the Niners are a half game up on them at 5-4. But you have also Seattle, who's 6-4, who's only a game up on Washington. Like, so if the Niners catch Seattle and Seattle falls back, like there's a very real possibility that the Washington Commanders, as we enter the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, could be fighting for a playoff spot if they continue to win, and it could be to decide whether 4 teams in the NFC East get in or not. It's a very real possibility at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're right there. They are right there when you look at the standings. My crappy graphic, lack of graphic here at the standings, they are right there with and that's crazy to say. Like I said, after last year talking about the NFC least, and now possibly having 4 teams, all 4 teams make the playoffs. It's impressive. But back to your power rankings, you do have the Commanders moving up 6 spots to 19. The Rams, the Broncos falling big in this group to 23 and 24. Let's move on to 9 through 16. And this is always, we talk about this as being your hardest here, but there's another, either the last group or the next group might have that title this week of being the hardest to rank. And I'm not you, that may change, but this seems easier than what I've seen in groups 17 through 24 and groups 1 through 8. Right here, though, Packers move up 7 spots after being able to pull off the win against the Cowboys in overtime. Chargers move down 1. Seahawks move down 1. Giants up 2. Bucks stay the same at 12. The Jets on a bye, they fall 1 spot. Bengals on a bye, they fall 1 spot. Really, it's because of the Titans there. They move up 2 spots to number 9. Ryan Tannehill comes back. They still score 17 points, Aaron, but they're winning football games. The defense is looking great. Let's start off with the risers, I should say, in this group, and we'll just stick with the Titans because I did just talk about them. They move up to number 9 after going from 11. They get the win, still not scoring a whole lot, still not looking flashy, but able to get the job done.
Yeah, they get the win. They always win regular season games. It's not exciting. I guess you could say it's exciting that Derrick Henry didn't have a good day and they won. But the defense deserves most of the credit. I don't know that Ryan Tannehill did anything that Malik Willis couldn't have done. This is the Tennessee Titans. They are going to win a lot of regular season games, and they're going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to be like, oh, we're so good, we got a chance. And they're going to get beaten. Everybody's going to cry and wonder why they couldn't win in the playoffs. And it's going to be because they don't have the weapons to win in the playoffs. I've said it since day one. Nobody's told you guys, outside of Vinny maybe, that the Titans suck. It's not like they can't win games. He said they were going to win 6 games. I thought that was a little bit of a shot, but I think it was more of a symbol. Like, yeah, cool, you can win some games, but you don't have a chance to win anything. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not having faith in Nick Westbrook-Akinu to show up in the playoffs when it matters. And you got to run flea flickers and stuff like this to make plays, like to create offense. That's cool. Like that's nice to win games, but that doesn't work in the playoffs. That stuff, you have to be able to play football, and they just can't. And I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. So, no, I'm not going to get excited about it. And Titans fans continue to hate on me, but I ranked them at number 9. Like, it's not like I'm saying they suck. They're a good football team. They know how to win games, but it's not going to matter in the end because in the playoffs, they're going to get beat, whether that's by the Bengals, whether that's by the Bills, whether that's by the Chiefs, whether it's by the Dolphins, like one of those teams in the AFC, Baltimore. All those teams are better than the Titans, and if they meet up in the playoffs, they're going to beat the Titans. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, they're a great regular season team. Let's enjoy the positives, Tennessee Titans fans, while they last. You are at number 9 on our power rankings. The Packers, on the other side of that column, they move up 7 spots to 16. They defeated the Dallas Cowboys in overtime this past week. We talked about this the same conversation last week when we were referring to the Bucks. We were like, is this team back? That was the question. We talked about whether or not that they let Brady hang around too long and they allowed him to come back. Did we do the same thing with the Packers here? Are they back? Did we let Aaron Rodgers and this team hang around too long and now they're just starting to click? Where are we at with the Packers? Obviously, they moved up 7 spots, so you're thinking highly of them.
Yeah, I just think this is one of those situations where if they play the way they played against Dallas, if they commit to running the football and trusting that identity, they've been good. They did it against the Bears. It's made Aaron Rodgers more efficient, but they have had trouble committing to that, getting their running game involved. I think they made a very big step in sticking with what they did. God, Deron Bland got burned so many times yesterday or Sunday. It's so sad. Everything is on Deron. Everything is on Deron Bland. If you look around, it's like, oh, it's 26, 26, 26. He's all around the ball. It's a tough Fresno State guy right there. California stand up. Anyways, I think the Packers just need to just go with that identity of running the football and getting Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon involved and let Aaron Rodgers make plays when they have to make plays. So, yes, I think I don't want to say the Packers are back. I think they're a different team than they were last year, and they have to understand that this is not the same old Packers. It's a different Packers team, but they still have talent. And I know they're banged up on the defensive side of the ball with Devondre Campbell, Rashawn Gary, and all these guys, but they still have a really good back end. And I know they lost Eric Stokes, but they got a shutdown corner. They got some young guys that are good. Quay Walker's good back there. I just think that they're a decent team, and I still trust quarterback position at Aaron Rodgers over some of those other people in that middle tier range of some of these rankings.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they go on maybe not a run, like a big time run, but like they start to really climb in your power rankings here because they're already at 16. I have a feeling they're going to be able to make some moves and continue to climb. Let's answer the question, Aaron. I know fantasy is year long. Fantasy is year round for us. Okay.
Ew.
Every show. Who should I drop? Daryl Henderson or Cam Akers?
Both. Listen, I mean, honestly, Cam Akers is the drop here.
Cam
I think
Akers.
Henderson's still in line right now to be the guy. I don't like either one of them. I hope you have another option there. But if you have an opportunity, go get Kyron Williams. I'd rather have Kyron Williams than Cam Akers as somebody that can handcuff for Henderson, because I think eventually when the Rams finally fall out of it completely, you will see Kyron Williams see the majority of the snaps. He saw 27% this past week. He had some targets out of the backfield. They didn't run him a lot, but I think they will eventually. And the Rams are going to be out of it. The Rams are going to look to, hey, what young guys can we get in there to see what they have? And I think that's going to be important. So if I had to choose between the two, it's Cam Akers. I don't love either one of them right now. They're both Henderson's definitely going to be touchdown dependent, and they don't score a lot of touchdowns right now in Los Angeles. But I would take Henderson over Cam Akers.
Yeah, I'm on that boat. I thought Cam Akers was going to be a big time bust this past during the offseason. I stand by that, and I think it continues. I think
really back that take up. Stand by that. Of course you stand by it. We're in week 11. He's got 10 fantasy points on the year.
Yeah, well, that too, but also Daryl Henderson's your guy. Thank you for asking the question, Billy C. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more fantasy football content from us. We are in our power rankings, but we will make sure we make time for fantasy football always and forever. Making time for fantasy football. Back to your power rankings, though, Aaron. Packers move up 7 spots, 16. Chargers down 1. Seahawks down 1. Really, that's because the Giants moved up 2. They're at 13. Bucks at 12. Jets at 11. Bengals 10. Titans at number 9. Let's get in to the top 8. And this is the most wild top 8 we have seen all season long, with the most movement we have seen. It does feature all of the same teams. No new teams in the top 8, but lots of movement from within. The Cowboys drop 4 spots to 8. The Ravens drop a spot to 7. The Eagles go from number 2, the number 2 team in the league, to 6. The Bills go from once being number 1, now they're number 5. The Dolphins up 4 spots to 4. The Vikings, the top 3 team in the NFL. What is this world? The Niners too. And of course, the Kansas City Patrick Mahomes are at number 1. Aaron, where do you want to start with this? Where do you want to start with this group? Because I can't pinpoint one, and I would be doing an injustice.
I don't think we need to specifically point out a team. I think this is a collective group. And I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again. These are the 8 football teams that I believe in. These are the 8 football teams that I believe if any one of them, and I know I said the Vikings, I don't feel like are a Super Bowl winning contender because I don't envision Kirk Cousins holding the trophy at the end of the year. Sure. But I think any one of these 8 teams could make a deep playoff run. We could see them in a championship game. We can see them getting to the Super Bowl. Do I think they all can win? No, I don't. I think there's 3 teams that can win the Super Bowl right now, and maybe that changes over the next few weeks. I'll have to see. The Vikings keep playing the way they are, a lot of close games. But the fact of the matter is these are the best teams in football, and I don't think it's close. I don't think any of those other teams, this is why they're still in my top 8. They've just moved around. Some won, some lost. The Vikings had a big win against Buffalo. Was I impressed by it? No. Kirk Cousins didn't play that well. Justin Jefferson bailed him out a number of times. And then the defense, once again, was opportunistic at the end of games to win that game. Buffalo handed them that game. That's my concern with Buffalo. Buffalo continues to give games away, and Josh Allen down the stretch is throwing interceptions and not making the plays he needs to make. And then you have the Cowboys. The Cowboys are good. Oh, they're good. Oh, wait, then they can't do certain things. It's all of these teams have what it takes personnel-wise, but when it matters the most, are you going to make the plays? And we saw that again on Sunday. This is just a matter of who showed out this past Sunday, and it's going to be fluid, as my friend Stephen A. Smith would say. The Dallas Cowboys play Minnesota this week. Guess what's going to happen if Dallas beats Minnesota? They're going to move up. The Dolphins have been riding high, but guess what? They're eventually going to have to play the Bills again. And if they lose, guess what they're going to do? They're going to fall back down to number 8 or number 7. There is 2 teams that I am very, very confident in, and it's number 1 and it's number 2. and that's the Kansas City Chiefs, because that man, Jesus, second coming of Jesus Christ himself, number 15 is on the field. And when he walks on water and floats through the air to make all his passes, there is no one, and I mean no one, that comes close to this man in the NFL. He is absolutely the best. He is hands down the best player, the best quarterback, the best commercial maker. He is just the best. Patrick Mahomes, 1-5, can't do wrong by me. And so Kansas City has the edge to me over everybody, because not only do they have the talent, they have the experience. They've been there. They've proven it. You look at all those other teams. And pull that top 8 back up. What teams there have experience in the playoffs? And I mean, the currently constructed roster has significant playoff experience. Buffalo has a little bit. Baltimore. No, I'm talking about outside of my top 2 teams. That's why they're my top 2 teams. Yeah. Because outside of those top 2 teams, these other teams have not been there. The Philly team is a brand new roster from when they won the Super Bowl. Baltimore has a little bit of playoff experience. I'll give them that. But they're not as talented. They're not as good or dynamic.
Buffalo, I'd say Buffalo. The thing is with the Bills, I think they have experience. It's just I don't think they have the same amount of experience when you look into the Chiefs, because if you think about the Chiefs' experience of what this roster has of the playoffs, the Bills have that same experience. It's just they didn't get us. Like the Bills are right behind everyone on the Chiefs in terms of that experience, because the Chiefs have gone one step further every time than the Bills. But every step the Chiefs have made, they've made 2 steps, and the Bills have made 1 step right behind them. So I get what you're saying. I see the Bills are probably that next.
Josh Allen's played 6 playoff games in his career.
Yeah.
That's it's not a lot. I mean, it's good for he has only been in the league a few years.
And what Patrick Mahomes has like 9?
Patrick Mahomes has significantly more than 9.
Does he?
I would imagine he's somewhere. Maybe it is 9.
Him and Josh Allen are very close.
It might be because he didn't play that first year. So yeah. I do have to account for that. But no, he has 11. That's what I thought. It's like because he's been in 4 straight AFC Championship games.
Yeah,
and he's won a Super Bowl. So he has 11.
So yeah, because it's an extra 2 every year, because we normally see the Bills get knocked out and they don't make the conference championship. They've made it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, I get your point.
He's 8, and again, it's not just about the experience of actually being there for me. It's also the experience of winning, of experiencing the wins in the playoffs and knowing how to win. And again, I'm not knocking Josh Allen. He's great, but he hasn't had the success in the playoffs that Patrick Mahomes has. Patrick Mahomes is 8-3 in the playoffs. Josh Allen's 500. He's won some first round games, and he did get to the championship game one time. That was that year, and he lost to the Chiefs. But I don't know. I just feel the experience, not only from the quarterback position, but from the head coach, and all that experience he brings from the veterans on that team. I just think it's so significant that it's hard to look at Kansas City and say any team is going to beat them in the playoffs. Even though it's happened and it's going to happen again eventually, it's hard to say that it's going to happen.
And then there's this.
And I agree with the 49ers. Like I say the same thing about the 49ers. It'll walk on water. Just walk on water. Just walk on water, Mr. Jesus.
I feel like I'm obligated to do that every time the Chiefs are at number 1. I am obligated to play that one video. Yeah, that's fair. That's your top 8 though. Here, real quick, just drop Akers for A-Rob or Nico Collins.
Oh, I would drop Akers for Allen Robinson in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat, yeah, because the Cooper Kupp injury, yeah. Oh, one, yeah.
I'm not saying again, Allen Robinson's not going to go out and be a wide receiver 1. Don't expect that. But I think his value doesn't. Don't stop, Vinny. Stop.
I'm kidding. It was a joke.
Yeah, Allen Robinson gets no separation. He will be a back end 2, if that, to a wide receiver 3/flex play. But I think he's going to see the targets that will allow him to have big games. So you'll see some games where it's maybe 4 for 40, and then you'll see some games where he does get 6 for 80 and a touchdown, and you can live with that. You can start him every week going forward.
Yeah, can't do that with Cam Akers. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more fantasy advice. But that does it for your power rankings of your week 11 power rankings, I should say. Chiefs still remain on top. Lots of movement in your top 8. The Packers starting to creep up in the rankings here, moving up 7 spots into that top quarter, the top half of the league, I should say. And then we've got some big time fallers, your Rams, your Broncos. They're hurting, they're aching, they are ready for the season to be over. We're ready to stop seeing them play football. And of course, your bottom of the barrel teams, your Texans stay at 32. The Raiders, all the talent in the world, it doesn't matter. They're 31st. The Saints, they continue to slide. And hey, Jeff Saturday, keep doing you, and you might see the Colts fly up the power rankings just a little bit more. That does it for our power rankings. Let's shift gears to our Thursday night preview. It's Thursday night preview time, and it features the 6-3 Titans traveling to Green Bay to take on the 4-6 Packers. We just talked about these two teams quite a lot. Actually, both these teams featured in that middle tier, that 16 through 9 range of the power rankings. Packers moving up to 16, 7 spots. Titans moving up to 9 as a top 10 team in the NFL. They meet on Thursday Night Football. Might actually be a good game, Aaron. Packers are favored by 3 points with an over-under of 41. What are you looking out for in this game?
Yeah, are the Packers going to continue to try to run the football? Because this is like a complete opposite mismatch of somebody's strengths versus somebody's weakness. Tennessee struggles on the back end when teams try to air it out, although they've been better as of late. But they're really good up front. They have one of the better defensive lines in football. But Green Bay is right now in the situation where they can't really just open it up and air it out like they've done in the past. They're a team that has to work through the running game and then off of play action. So we're going to find out real quickly if Green Bay is sold on sticking with their game plan and being able to consistently run the football. And if they're not, I think they struggle in this one, very similarly to what the Kansas City had to go through. Kansas City tried to air it out against Tennessee, and it was rough because they didn't have any running game, and Tennessee didn't have to worry about that. And they had a battle in that game, and we saw it go to overtime. And then finally, again, Jesus Christ himself, Patrick Mahomes, was able to go ahead and win it. But I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is on that same level. I'm sorry. He's just not on the same level as Patrick Mahomes right now. So they have to find ways to scheme it up, to get open looks, to let Aaron Rodgers be able to throw freely and have nice windows to fit those balls into. And that starts with the running game. So I expect Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to be the focal point for that Green Bay offense. And I expect Tennessee to try to eliminate that so they can force Aaron Rodgers, which is so strange because in the past, you never wanted to force Aaron Rodgers to beat you, but I think that's what you have to do now in order to beat Green Bay is you have to force Aaron Rodgers to air it out because you will take your chances against Christian Watson and Allen Lazard more so than Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon.
What do you expect to see from Derrick Henry in this game? Because we talk about this all the time, how the Packers tend to be or can be a very soft defense. Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in the NFL, one of the hardest running backs to stop, going up against a team that we consider sometimes being soft, stopping the run. What do we expect to see from Derrick Henry in this game?
He should have a good day, but I also think if I'm Green Bay, I'm selling out. Like I'm selling out to stop the run. This is this game plan. It should be the game plan for every single NFL team when they play the Titans. Sell out to stop Henry, force Ryan Tannehill to beat you. And if you get beat by Ryan Tannehill, you get beat. But I'm not letting 22 beat me. And Green Bay's run defense is not good. They are soft. Bottom 5 in rush defense, rush yards allowed per game. But I think you know that. I think if you're Green Bay, you come into this and hey, man, we got to stop Derrick Henry. I think everybody knows that. So I think they make an exerted effort to do so. Will it be successful? Who knows? But they have to stop Derrick Henry if they want a shot in this game.
Titans have had 2 primetime games this season, lost both of them. So they're looking to get their first win tomorrow when they take on the Packers in Thursday Night Football. Who you got in this one? Do the Titans get their first primetime win of the season, or the Packers continue to roll?
Yeah, it's I always say Thursday night, short week on the road is tough. People's bodies haven't healed. You got to travel. You always like to talk about the mental side of the travel and things like that. And I agree that that's a thing when you talk about these short weeks. They don't get much practice time in. Green Bay's been at home. I'm going to lean Green Bay here. I think this is a low-scoring, tight game, though. I think the Titans might be the better football team overall. but I'm going to take Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to be able to make enough plays at home on a short week, and Green Bay gets the win here. I'm gonna say 23. I'm gonna say 23-17. Yes, that's right. The Titans score 17 points again. This time it's not enough. They got to learn how to score more than 17. I don't think they get there in this game. Give me Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers wins back-to-back.
Yeah, I think I'm on board with you with the low scoring Titans score. I think they actually score a little bit more just because of Derrick Henry in this game. And I do have a hard time picking against the Titans because I want to give them their respect. I want to give them their credit for having a good defense. I think that could neutralize Aaron Rodgers. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the quarterback position. I think the Packers are going to force Ryan Tannehill to have to make him beat them, and I don't think that happens. And I think I'll go Green Bay here. I'll go Green Bay 21 to – I'll go Green Bay 24-21. I'll say the Titans get the more points than they have been, but still.
You said because of Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
Well, he ran for 200 yards and they scored 17.
I am aware of this. I am aware
I'm just saying. Was he going to run for 400 yards? I don't know. Yeah, I'm just saying. He ran for 200 yards and only scored 17 against the Texans.
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with Malik Willis. I think the return of Ryan Tannehill boosts them up a little bit in terms of the points department, but still fall to the Packers. Give me the Packers here, 24-21. That does it for our Thursday night preview. We'll be back with more on this game tomorrow to close out tomorrow's show with our DFS prime time plays. So be sure to tune in on that front. We will also be previewing the NFC matchups for tomorrow as well. What's the schedule look like? What big games do we have tomorrow in the NFC? Cardinals, Niners will preview tomorrow. That should be a good one to talk about. Cowboys, Vikings, two teams in our top 8. We'll get to preview that as well.
Did you start with Cardinals, Niners?
It was the first game on my list that I had on here, and
there's not many games right in the NFC this week. I think there's only isn't there 4 or 5?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, we'll be previewing 5 games tomorrow, and really it's some of you look at the AFC games as well. The NFC matchups are better than we get Chiefs Chargers, but either way, we're previewing the NFC home games tomorrow. That includes the Cowboys, Vikings, two teams in our top 8. If you've missed any bit of our power rankings, be sure to go back and check that out on our YouTube page at the Sac City Pod. Find where your team landed. If you agree with it, great, let us know. If you don't agree with it, great, let us know and tell us why we suck and tell us why you think your team should be higher or lower. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We appreciate everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Sac City Podcast. Again, we will be back tomorrow live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, bringing you previews for Week 11 and so much more. For my best friend, Aaron Mukes, I am me. We will see you tomorrow.
Peace out.
We know we're a much better team than